Hi everyone, welcome to another one of my tutorials. Today we're doing something kind of different. I get asked quite a lot about my color palettes, and I have no secret sauce honestly, so I thought why not show you guys my process. At the end of the video, we're also going to look at some cool vectornator features that help you manage and create your own color palettes. So let's look at the palettes that I personally really like using, how I got inspired, how they make my life easier, and so on. Let's go! Let's start with the origins of my color palette, which was actually two-folded. One, I've always been interested in tattoos and tattoo art, much like this. Especially traditional American style, I find it super inspiring, and you get to see that a lot in my work. My second inspiration comes from my master's thesis about outdated printing techniques, mainly focused on a spirit duplicator. In case you haven't seen one, this is it. Well, actually, this is the real deal. A spirit duplicator is a printing method invented in the 20s and popularized around the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Working with it means that you need carbon paper in order to produce copies. It's a very old replicating technique, so don't worry if you don't know it. And the result of these copies is something like this. This is a very typical color that you get from the spirit duplicating, and here's the red thread in the story. Tattoo artists actually use the exact same carbon paper to get the design stenciled on your skin before it's tattooed permanently. If you ever get a tattoo and the artist does not make a stencil or a drawing on your skin first, run. To bring it all together, a great source of inspiration for me was minimalist design works that only feature 2, maximum 3 colors. And I found that I very often liked the ones that had a pink or dusty pink background. I just really like designs that are very reduced and simple. And since I work a lot with minimalism, it made sense to start with very few colors and see how far the palette can take me. So this was also a way of challenging myself and really seeing how much I can get out of a small palette to achieve dozens of different unique designs. So the basis for the color palette that I use almost everywhere is made of these purple indigo tones that you saw on a copy of a spirit duplicator, and from here I added some pinks that complemented these purples very well. And this is how I achieved my trademark palette that is really just centered around the dual tone aesthetic. I very often start my illustrations with the background color. Sometimes it's different, but usually I start there and see where the rest is going. Then let me show you this ultra dark indigo. Might look like black on the camera, but it's not. I find using a dark indigo rather than just pure black brings more depth and interest to my work. For contrast, I created a darker shade of the base pink, like this. It's a really nice skin tone color. It contrasts, but it matches everything at the same time. So we have the dusty pink, the indigo tone, and the dark pink brownie shade. If I feel like I need even more contrast, I make a lighter version of the dusty pink, like this. Depending on my composition, I go with either or, but normally I prefer the darker one, like today. I made sure that both the indigo and the dusty pink are desaturated. This gives me a lot of room to play with additional, more saturated colors if I want to. Like this, more saturated, brighter orange, which I introduced to my palette after a while. But I absolutely love it, and especially in combination with all my other colors. And even later, I introduced a cooler version of these colors and more pinky in nature. I actually would call it a coral, which also really works with all my other tones and gives an interesting focal quality to any other elements that carry the shade. I'm one of those artists that use the same colors over and over again, and I just play around and see what works and what doesn't. This sort of limitation is a great way to also push me as an artist and creative. For example, here this is nice but kind of too harsh against the background. So let's play around a little bit. Now it's too light, which looks unbalanced. I have a big dark area here, and then this is too delicate. If I pick a lighter, more saturated blue, it's still a bit too contrasting in my eyes. So I landed on the same color as the skin tone. I personally think it's the most aesthetically pleasing. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Which one is your favorite? Now I want to add some lighter tones and just some detail that is not too distracting, but it's eye-catching enough. This will make the entire composition more rounded and balanced. I'm a sucker for balance and symmetry, in case you didn't know. So I kind of want everything to balance out, and at the moment there is definitely something still missing. So let's start with our base again, our trusty light pink. I like that with the background. It almost looks white, but it's much softer than that. Pure white for me looks almost too crass. To balance it even more, I usually fill some of these leaves in, so it's not just an outline. Much like this. And for these leaves in the background, I can either pick one of my accent colors, like this orange, or the same electric coral tone I used before, which is actually much nicer. Let's fill in some of the leaves here as well. Same on the other side. And this is basically how I applied my color palette to this illustration. We can play around with it all day, swap colors around, make it softer, or go more into these digital colors, which I sometimes really enjoy using. It really depends on how I'm feeling that day, what's the aesthetic I'm chasing, or what the brief from the client was. But today I'm feeling that the first try was the best, so I'll go with my electric coral instead. Bottom line, just start with 2 or 3 base colors and make maximum one of them more saturated, while making the other 2 more toned down. My ultra go-tos are these dusty pinks and these darker blues. You might not even see a difference on camera between them actually, but they are more distinguishable on a bigger scale. Then we have the must-have gray tones, and I only use these as highlight colors, which would occupy maximum 10% of any of my color work, which is a pretty good rule of thumb to follow. But let's have a closer look at some examples to see my thinking in action. In this illustration, you can see how I used a new color, which is this turquoise, just to give it a bit more of a neon vibe. But other than that, these are the same exact colors from my other illustration. And the way you combine them, you can create so many different moods and feelings. Sometimes I feel that using only 2 tones is a challenge, but I love doing it because it really pushes me to explore new avenues. And sometimes I love adding new colors to my usual palette, like this yellow that I almost never use. But of course, here it just made sense. Here I used a brighter blue than before, alongside the electric coral and the orange, with just a tiny bit of a gradient for more depth. Then I just popped in a gray background and I was done. 4 colors and a little bit of shading went a long way. And sometimes I just love to create multiple versions of the same illustration using the same colors but in a different way, just to see how the mood changes from one iteration to the other. Here all I did was change the background, and I also colored the leaves with my highlight colors. Totally different vibe. Ultimately, consistent use of color allows me to create a strong brand. This is my Instagram feed, and as you can see, I repeat the same colors over and over. But I don't think it gets boring. That's because there are so many combinations that I can play around with. But they do create a consistent brand that people can instantly recognize. In order to stand out, I really recommend you create your own signature color palette and slowly expand it over time. And no need to go crazy. Don't think you need to have a huge variety of 20 colors. It definitely depends on your style also. Generally, fewer colors mean more control, more ease in creating, and more harmony in your body of work. Start with 2 to 3 and create variations of them by either adding white and making them brighter, or black to make them darker. And by then, you already have a huge variety of colors that you can work with. Let me show you how to do it. Let's play with color blending modes. Here I have my basic color, which is dusty pink. And at the very right, I have white. So if I go to effects here and I blend horizontally, I'm generating 2 more colors that I know will harmonize and look amazing together. Let's do the same on the other side. And you can experiment here as much as you want. Let's pick all of them this time. And blend. And now you have a bunch of new cool colors. If you're anything like me, you use Procreate for sketching and vectornator for vectorizing, finishing touches, and print. And now it's actually super easy to transfer your color palettes from one tool to another. Just go to Procreate, pick a palette, just tap it, hold it, go back to vectornator, and now in the color section, I just drop it. Super cool, right? So let's recap. A consistent color palette not only makes your life easier. Since you don't have to always decide what colors to use, you can just pick them from your existing repertoire. Then you just need to decide which to use and where. But always keep in mind to start small and then generate enough colors, keep elements contrasted, and use accent colors moderately. If you keep using those colors, you can create consistent branding for your merch and printables, but also for your online presence like your Instagram or the background of your videos, and even go as far as branding yourself with clothes and accessories. The important thing is to stay consistent, and a striking way to do that is with color. That's all for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed today's insight into color palettes with me. Give this video a thumbs up if you did, follow Vectornator for more tutorials, and follow me on Instagram at Sandra.Staub if you like my work. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!